Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Welcome to our 365 Daily Devotion Bible Characters Edition. So ngayon ay patuloy natin pag-aaralan ng ating series patungkol sa Bible characters. At ang paksa natin ngayon ay patungkol sa Jacob's marriage to Leah and Rachel. So God's design of human failure. So Jacob's marriages, dalawa to Leah and Rachel, reveal a painful mixture of love, deception, favoritism, and human weakness. So Jacob labored faithfully for 7 years to marry Rachel, so the woman he loved. Yet on the wedding night, Laban deceived him and gave Leah instead. So this act of deceit did not occur in isolation. It took place within a family culture already shaped by manipulation, favoritism, and broken trust. So Jacob, who once deceived his own father, Isaac, now became the victim of deception himself. Although this family structure was culturally accepted at the time, it brought deep emotional wounds. So Leah lived with rejection. Rachel struggled with bareness and jealousy. So Jacob showed partiality, creating division in his household. So this account shows us that when God's design for marriage is compromised, the result is not peace but pain. Yet, even in this broken situation, God remained faithful. From this flawed family came the 12 sons who would become the foundation of Israel's God. So God's purposes were not defeated, but the consequences of sin were real and costly. So sabi nga sa Genesis chapter 29 verse 25 to 30, and it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah, and he said to Laban, what is this thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? And Jacob did so and fulfilled her wish, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. So katuruan natin dito una, what is legal or cultural does not always mean moral. So polygamy was culturally acceptable in Jacob's time, but scripture does not present in God's ideal. So from the beginning, God established marriage as a covenant between one man and one woman. So cultural permission never equals divine approval. So the Bible records human behavior honestly, but it also reveals the painful outcomes of disobedience. So Jacob's household became a place of rivalry, bitterness, and emotional neglect. So Leah longed to be loved. Rachel envied her sister, and their competition so extended to their children. So this teaches us that when God's moral design is ignored, disorder follows. The Bible, not culture, must remain the final authority for what is right. Second is marriage is designed for one man and one woman. So God's original design for marriage is rooted in covenant, exclusivity, and faithfulness. So Jacob's divided affection violated this design. So his favoritism toward Rachel wounded Leah deeply and produced lasting family conflict. So marriage cannot thrive where commitment is divided. This account reminds believers that marriage is not merely emotional attachment but a sacred covenant before God. So when God's design is followed, marriage becomes a place of security, love, and reflection of Christ's faithfulness. So when it is distorted, even sincere love becomes a source of pain. Third is complicated relationships are not yet or are not beyond redemption. So Jacob's family was deeply broken, yet God did not abandon them. So God worked patiently within their failures to bring about his redemptive plan. So Leah, though unloved, became the mother of Judah, from whom Christ would later become this show. This shows that God often brings grace out of rejection. No? So redemption does not mean sin has no consequences. It means God's mercy is greater than human failure. Even complicated relationships can become places where God displays His power, grace, and faithfulness. So, applications natin dito no una, do not deceive, otherwise you will be deceived. So, Jacob once deceived his father and later he was deceived by Laban. So, this pattern reveals a biblical principle. No? So, sin often returns to confront us. Deception may bring short-term gain, but it always produces long-term pain. So believers are called to live with integrity, honesty, honors God, and protects relationships when we choose truth even when it costs us. So we align ourselves with God's character and invite His blessing. Second is entrust your relationships to God for redemption. So Jacob's family shows how human effort alone cannot fix broken relationships. So only God can redeem what sin that has damaged. No? So when relationships are surrendered to God, He brings healing, wisdom, and transformation. So entrusting relationships to God means seeking His will, submitting to His word, and allowing Him to reshape our hearts. So God may not remove all consequences, but He will guide us toward restoration and maturity. Third is to make a commitment to faithfulness to one spouse. No? So faithfulness is not only physical loyalty but emotional and spiritual devotion. So Jacob's divided love created insecurity and pain in his household. So God calls husbands to wives, no, to reflect his faithful love through exclusive commitment. So choosing faithfulness honors God and strengthens families. No, it creates an environment where trust can grow and love can flourish. A faithful marriage becomes a testimony of God's covenant love to the world. So, discussion natin dito, no, why should we base our morality on the Bible and not on culture? Because culture changes but God's truth does not, no? So, cultural norms often reflect human desires rather than God's holiness. The Bible reveals God's perfect will and warns us to of the consequences of sin. So when morality is rooted in scripture, no, it leads to life, peace, and righteousness rather than confusion and regret. So let's dive deeper. What is the importance of the 12 tribes of Israel? So the 12 tribes represents the fulfillment of God's covenant promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So they form the foundation of Israel's national, spiritual, and redemptive history. Through them came the law of the prophets and ultimately Jesus Christ. Second is, where are the 10 lost tribes of Israel? Historically, no, the 10 northern tribes were scattered during the Assyrian exile. So while their exact locations are debated, scripture emphasizes that God has not forgotten them. The biblical prophecy points to God's future restoration and gathering of His people according to His sovereign plan.